Yeah, not looking good as a Bears fan. Jordan Love really cooked us. Have to admit that. We also beat ourselves. Play calling, blocking, quarterback play not being decisive, all those things. But it's gonna be another 30 years. I feel like. So, as a Bears fan, strap up. But on a serious note, we'll talk about Week One, what happened, um, anything not to overreact to, or things that we should pay attention to. We'll also talk about the unfortunate injury to Aaron Rodgers that cost him the season. Um, how did the Jets fare? And then also preview some Week 2 matchups. So stick along, stay tuned, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Korshan's a little busy this week, so he was unable to come on to record this week's episode, which is perfectly all right. So, doing a self one today, just covering week one, a couple of the games we watched, what I took away at least, and I'm sure Korshan will have some other thoughts that he'll add on to as we get through the following football weeks. This typically tends to be like the overreaction week where it's just like, whoa, I did not see this coming. Um, yeah, Seahawks and Rams game, definitely for sure. Pretty impressed with the Rams actually, but just gonna cover a couple games I watched over week one, just over my observations, and then talking about that. So I think over the course of week one, like I mentioned earlier, there's a couple things to just keep in mind. Um, One, a lot of defenses don't know, like with the personnel changes, how offenses are gonna call different plays differently. And I think you saw this in the Chargers game. Like even though they tried to double Tyreek the same way they did last year, which was pretty effective. But then this year, Mike McDaniel just added a bunch of different wrinkles to help like Hill go on short motion and swing himself free. And I think it's little changes like that where like defenses have not caught up yet. So I think as they get 4 to 6 games to re-ingratiate themselves with like, oh, what the offensive tendencies are for this year, you're gonna see a lot more consistency on that end and like which teams are able to constantly make adjustments versus which teams are relying on that first punch and then they don't have a counter punch when defenses figure them out. So really interesting to see. I think the one thing to know is super impressed with the Lions. I know I did a recap preview on that as a YouTube short. I'm gonna roll those out more frequently just to test the waters, but definitely really impressed with the Lions ground game, especially with the offensive line. You could see them move mountains literally when it mattered most, especially like first half, and they kind of got away with it. Got away from it rather in the second half, and that's when you sort of saw like the Chiefs start to build something, and then the Lions just sealed the deal. And I think they're going to lean on the ground game a ton, even though they made all these aerial adjustments in the offseason. And the defense is really impressive, especially their coverage, um, their deep passing coverage. When you ever you face a guy like Patrick Mahomes, that's something you got to worry about. Um, but on the other side of it, definitely disappointed. Like I mentioned, I did not see that coming out of Kadarius Toney as far as production. I thought this was a perfect opportunity for him to shine in the number one role, and he blew it. He blew it with his pass catching. Um, just lackadaisical in his approach and his drops, and I think you saw itself play out. So I'm not giving up on him. I still have hope because the talent is there. Like after the catch, it's just like the focus level. Um, Not going to get into what he's done off the field since then, as far as like deleting his Twitter account and then like being a little bit classless towards Giants fans. Um, Without like self-inspecting himself. So like regardless of that, I think I'm still gonna be on him, but it's not looking good for him right now. He needs to clean up some stuff. Um, Very impressed with the Chiefs' young secondary though. I know I mentioned it last week that they've shown some positive signs from the championship game last year, but even without Chris Jones, that's still like really impressive how they were able to hold the Lions to 21. And I mean it because the Lions had one of the explosive offenses of last year. I think they were third in like total yards, which is extremely impressive for that team. And the Chiefs did an excellent job in pass coverage. Like, let's forget about the running game for a second, but like in pass coverage, they did really well. And like I mentioned, in my shorts, wait on Travis Kelsey. If you're trying to figure out who's the go-to guy in the Chiefs, it's always been Travis Kelsey. You're hoping something from Sky Moore. I'm hoping something from Tony and a little bit from Justin Ross. But like until one receiver just shows up consistently, I'm not buying any of the receivers on the Chiefs. Probably Tony, but like Tony, like on my teams, has probably been like the end of bench guy. So it's just having hope in him at this point. All right. Next up, we got the Browns and the Bengals. I was really excited for this game out of the 1 o'clock slate. That was probably the one exciting game I thought was going to be a shootout, and it didn't turn out that way. Didn't turn out that way at all. But I enjoyed what I saw. I enjoyed like how Cleveland's defense was utilized. Like I knew Jim Schwartz was aggressive because he used to be a Lions head coach, and the Bears would face him all the time. And yeah, I just knew it was just tough. Like he did a great job as the Eagles defensive coordinator. Um, but like I did not see this coming. Like not to the Bengals. Because the Bengals, I had them projected as one of the best finishing teams in the AFC because of their offense. And their offense got held to 3 points. Um, Jim Schwartz just ran a bunch of different stuff, like AAA blitzes, like for the A gap, um, lining up Miles Garrett in like a 2 point stance, and like Zadarius Smith in the 2 point stance, like right over the centers, and like just like odd stuff you don't typically see out of Miles Garrett being aligned. And I'm all for it. Like that's the kind of stuff you would love to see, like as a football fan. Just like how many different creative ways can you use players to shine? Because you're here to see the biggest players shine on the stage. And I think Cleveland's defense is there for real. They're for real. They're one of the best defenses in the league already. Um, Top to bottom, I know when Corsair and I covered the draft, we really loved their defense when talking about them. I also got impressed watching Deshaun Watson a little bit, considering how he performed last year. Like now, their offensive production doesn't really show that, but like he's got the passing attack down where they can complement what Nick Chubb can do. I'm not too worried about that. Mark Cooper, we talked about him being underrated as the wide receiver number one. The production wasn't there, but you could tell he was separating a lot. And when like um, the one thing is like Watson's got to stop one hopping those balls, like where he's throwing. Like he just kept bouncing. He threw it, but it would land like 2 or 3 yards short of like the receiver he's throwing to. And it only takes like one defender to undercut that to turn those into interceptions. So like he's gotta he's gotta clean that up. I will say this, like Burrow and Watson struggling in the wind, um, and like the rainy conditions, that didn't help. That didn't help at all. I think the whole passing game was a wash, which is why I'm not too worried about the Bengals, particularly because like Burrow is still getting back from his injury, retraining, like during training camp and beyond. Um, Not worried about Chase, not worried about Higgins. Um, I do want to see Irv Smith like improve a little bit because like he has a lot to prove in general. Um, Come back from injury, changing teams, um, but that's probably the one spot, and not much else to add about the Bengals. I think it's just kind of like it was a bad game. Their defense did their job considering like how there was no offensive production like to be had on the Bengals side. So we'll talk about them a little bit later when previewing the Ravens and the Bengals games in the week 2 slate. But um, yeah, I think the biggest takeaway to take away from this is like Browns are for real, and their defense is going to be a large reason why. But don't discount their offense. Don't discount their because they got a good mix right now. And you know how I love Nick Chubb. We didn't even get into him. He had like probably one of the best like non-touchdown like fantasy scoring games like in week 1. And can't say enough about him. He just looks so smooth and the cuts he makes. Like he's not the fastest guy, he's not the most powerful guy, but he's the most efficient running back, knowledgeable guy you'll see in the league. He knows exactly when to time his cuts. He knows exactly how to run the ball. Like he's a master, absolute masterclass. All right, don't really want to get into this game at all, um, but I'm gonna have to since I watched it. Like I just looked at the tape. I've been following along on different like tape analysis as well, and just finished an hour-long segment video I watched on what Justin Fields could have done differently, what the offense could have done differently, and it's just the fact that it was an hour long says something about it. But um, yeah, bad day to be a Bears fan, bad week to be a Bears fan. But if you look at Justin Fields' decisions, like you still got to work to do to be like decisive enough. There's a lot of like 15 or 20-yard shots he passed up for, and he took the checkdowns, which is you're good, good. It means like he has the intent to be a passer first, which is good. But he's missing all these chances for explosive plays when they aren't there. I counted maybe like 3 or 4 times he could have targeted DJ Moore for 20-yard gains, and he just missed it. Um, Cole Kmet, Chase Claypool. I'm probably like most infuriated at those two, like because they had no effort in blocking sometimes. Sometimes they didn't know what to do blocking wise. I think the play calling was way too screen heavy, not enough like change ups from that. And there's some like weird actions when they're like pulling the tackles to the other side, or they don't have enough spacing, or they're running two guys to the same spot. You saw a lot of that out of the Bears offense. And in this day and age with the modern day NFL, you want to space out players in different directions, stretch people horizontally and vertically. So you open up more avenues for Justin Fields to run. Use him as a runner, but also like give guys catch and run opportunities. I think in the preseason it was good like to see them nail on the two screen passes because everything was executed correctly. Like there's proper blocking and whatnot. But in the regular season, if you don't block on screens, then what's the point? What's the point? Um, Not to take any credit away from the Packers, they played phenomenal. Their defense was a large reason why they won. Um, put put the Packers and like Packers offense in favorable situations. Eberflus's fourth down call didn't help in the very first possession, but props to the Packers defense, man. They were reactive. They didn't um, they didn't sell themselves like out at all. Um, Aggressive tackling. I think there were a couple plays where they got cocky and they were like chomping at the bit a little bit, but like I don't blame them. Like the Bears made bad play calls. They weren't reacting quick enough, and Packers took advantage. Um, I thought their pass rush was really good. This is with Rashawn Gary coming back to full health, um, and their defense is a large reason. On the offensive side, like once they leaned on Eric Jones, like they're formidable. They're running away with the game. Um, Aaron Jones is a mismatch on like pretty much everybody the Bears have, like in the passing game. So props to the Packers. Jordan Love looked really good um, in spurts, but like there's still situations where I would like to see him under heavy duress, like how he reacts, because the Bears pass rush barely hit him home. Granted, the Packers O line is really good, really really good, but I would love to see Jordan Love like going for like complex reads because a lot of like the most explosive plays you saw in like man coverage. And it's kind of like Aaron Jones on the linebacker. Okay, that's pretty easy. Most quarterbacks would take that matchup, right? But what happens if the matchup's not there? Like if it's tightly contested. He can do it like in like goal line situations like with fades. And then he had a nice fourth down completion to Dobbs again. Um, but I'd just like to see him in like what happens if he's facing better talent around him, like on the defensive end. Um, I think that's crucial because like in the preseason, I saw some inconsistencies where he sailed some passes, but like he looked a lot better than he did at Utah. I'll say that for sure. So like considering he staffed for 3 years after that, like this is Packers fan. This is where you want to be. But you just hope he just constantly improves from there on. On Romeo Dobbs' note, he improved a lot. Like I loved his pass catching technique. Like um, it's a lot better. He made strides towards that area, and that's really exciting. And they did all this without Christian Watson, so you can't wait to see what he looks like when in that offense. Jaden Reed was separating well. I loved him from the draft. It made me sad to see see him doing that to the Bears, but like his route running, his separation was like all top tier until he got injured. But yeah, trying to contain myself, but not a good day for the Bears. I definitely thought they would win this game because I thought Justin Fields would take the next step, but jumped the gun on that way too early. I'm trying to see if they could beat the Buccaneers, man. Let's end it at that. Dolphins and Chargers. Now, I did not watch this game live, but I kept tabs on it and I rewatched this, like the highlights and then also specific segments. And I gotta say, like Dolphins look scary, man. Like, granted, the Chargers only lost by 2, but like Dolphins look scary. Like they seemingly had an answer for everything the Chargers tried to throw at them for Tyreek Hill. And although like Waddle didn't produce as well, like where like he has his typical explosive games, like he's coming. He's coming. Like and the fact you got both Waddle and Hill makes it an issue because they pretty much number one wide receivers that rely on speed and separation. And if you have two of them, it makes it difficult because a lot of teams don't have a talented number two corner to keep up. And the Chargers were one of the rare teams that do, and it still didn't matter. And um, Dolphins didn't rely on their running game as much as they usually do, but like watch out when they do because they can do anything pretty much. And I think the fact that Tua was a lot more quick with his decisions, he seemed a lot more comfortable in the offense despite him having a really good season last year. Man, 400 plus yards, like that's unbelievable, unbelievable. Like I think the one moment that accentuated it was the game winner, obviously because it was a game winner, but also like the touch and the placement, the throw in anticipation, like to throw it over the cornerback's shoulder to right to where only Hill can get it. That's a difficult throw. Like it's a lot easier if that's DeAndre Hopkins or like AJ Brown or somebody like that or Justin Jefferson. That's like Tyreek Hill, and like there was no separation on that. That's why it being Tyreek Hill, and like like the ball placement, you can't teach that. Like Tua can play. It's not a question of like whether he can play or not. Like last year, that was answered, and like this year it should accentuate that. It's literally just the injuries, and I love the fact they keep bringing up like the jiu-jitsu practice because like it doesn't matter that he does jiu-jitsu. It's the matter that he's like being proactive enough to like go beyond and saying, okay, why is something not working? And like taking steps to correct that. So I I look at these Dolphins, man, and they should be right up there. Like if I had to amend my list. Like I know this is at post week one, but Dolphins should be right up there with the Chiefs, Bengals, Bills. Like preseason like previews and even the Jaguars. Like you gotta say it, man. Chargers look good. I think a lot of people slept on Keenan Allen. Um, he proved fine. He looks really good out there. Um, the one thing I didn't see was like the reliance on Joshua Kelly, and I think I should have seen it, given that Kellen Moore is now coordinating that offense. It gives them a changeup where they're kind of using Austin Eckler in like the Zeke and Pollard role, and kind of like Joshua Kelly in like the Zeke role. So like I think Kellen Moore really likes having two starting running backs that can do like two really good things well. And I think it worked for them. The formula worked because like it wasn't that Austin Eckler wasn't being productive or something like that. Like he still got enough carries, he still got enough production. I think Joshua Kelly is like really proved himself. Um, he improved a lot with the interior running. He looks fast, he looks fresh, he looks explosive. Like I know like the first couple of years he looked like he was just like a power back, but now he's definitely not. Um, yeah, not much to say about that. Derwin James is Derwin. Looks looks absolutely amazing flying around the field. Um, but but yeah, these two teams are going to be in it. I can't wait to see the rematch in the playoffs if it happens. That would be glorious. Um, but nothing to complain about with this game. One team had to lose it, and um, the Dolphins came out and win it. All right, Giants and Cowboys. Um, this one, I sat for 3.5 quarters. I don't know why I did. Um, the Giants looked really, really good their first drive with running the ball, like power running. They were throwing like the kitchen sink and different counters, no pun intended, in the run game, and it worked. Like Dallas had no idea what to do, like where it was coming from. Like that's the one strategy you use against like a Dallas pass rush like that. A lot of counters, a lot of power run game. It worked, and then the block kick happened, and then ever since then, like special teams and like the defense just like feasted on this team. Like there's no going back. Like Giants couldn't hold up once they went pass heavy. They're not really built that way. Like it's kind of like they're very one dimensional. And once you took away their mobility in the run game and the quick options they have and the bootleg that was working for them last year, there's not much they could do. Um, Cowboys right along with Cleveland. Like they're like 3 or 4 deep on their pass, which is just crazy to think about. Um, and it showed. It showed. The defense like spotted the whole team 14 points. So they're what the Cowboys are going to lean on. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Um, Dak looked great. Dak looked a lot more decisive. He took a lot of easier throws than compared to what he did last year, and I think he's getting slept on a lot. I think people are dogging him for no reason. Um, I do think the play calling was a lot more like structured. So it's not like forcing Dak to create and go beyond that. Um, it'll be interesting to see how their offense unfolds, like when they're not spotted that many points, because it definitely makes it easier when you're 14 nothing to like call whatever the heck you want. So we'll see how they do next week. What I didn't see coming in a lot of week ones is going to be tailored here. Um, One was like from the Rams, like all these young players stepped up like crazy. I was not expecting that. Puka Nakua, Tutu Atwell, Kyron Williams. I've never been a huge fan of Tutu Atwell, so that was even more surprising to me. Um, Puka Nakua, we did preview him like a little bit in our um, in our division series is when we talked about the Rams, what the Rams roster looks like. So that was probably it. Calvin Ridley and Zay Flowers look absolutely amazing in their offenses. I buy into them as soon as possible. Was not expecting Rashad Penny to be scratched on the Eagles. That definitely wasn't helpful. I started him in one of my leagues, forgot to take him out. Um, but yeah, Kenny Gaywell started. He's RB1 for the Eagles. Still kind of don't get why they cut Chase Sermon, but it's beyond me. Um, Anthony Richardson looked fantastic, other than like the one bad read he had. But well, with that said, I think he'll have an up and down season. He'll have up and downs that go with the rookie flow. Um, but I mean, a lot of people didn't know what to expect out of him. He looked great in the run game, absolutely. Chris Olave, that whole Saints offense, I'm like so excited. I really talked highly about them. They look good. They looked good, even if they scored like 17 points. Like if you just look at their offense and how they utilize everybody, Michael Thomas, I'm glad I bet on him. He looked great as long as he stays healthy. Olave was he could have had a huge game too. Like beyond that, he's playing well. Um, Kenneth Walker is like the main guy in Seattle, but I was still wouldn't like lean off of Zach Charbonnet. Like you never know what might happen, so he might get used a lot more as the season progresses. Tyler Algier is still kicking around with in the Falcons offense. Cordell's coming back, so it's just gonna mucky the waters a little bit. But I think on that note, I'm still like Desmond Ritter is still like very inconsistent to me. Like sometimes he doesn't take the first reads like that are given to him, and he just makes it harder on himself. Um, he's not looking Kyle Pitts and Drake London's way when he should probably lean on them beyond what the play call is. And I'm not very high on Atlanta because of it. Like they have all these skill position It's like players, but like they don't have the guy to most efficiently use them and like raise the whole ceiling of the offense. So that's an unfortunate thing. We'll see if he turns it around during midseason, but it's going to take a lot of work because the way he's playing now, like if he continues playing like that, he's they might be looking at another QB soon. Um, I don't really know what to think of the Ravens backfield after J.K. Dobbins unfortunately got injured. Um, I think I would imagine it's just a mix of Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, and maybe somebody else. I know they just signed Melvin Gordon, I think, to the Ravens earlier, so he might be play a part of the picture. 49ers offense looks great. Brock Purdy, like he's given Brandon Ayuk a chance. I think Brandon Ayuk is finally showing why he should be the number one wide receiver on that team. Christian McCaffrey, what more you can say about him? He looks amazing. But yeah, just a short snippet on takeaways I saw in week one. I didn't really talk about the Jets and the Bills because I think that kind of got overshadowed with Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers played one series, and I kind of missed it. I tuned into the game late, and I was just saying, okay, wait, why is Zach Wilson in? I was just seeing the replays, and I'm like, once I saw that leg shake, I was just like, oh, like whenever you see the calf like reverberate like that, like something's either wrong with the calf, like serious injury, or like it's Achilles. And fortunately, it was Achilles. Um, it's a shame, man, that it had to happen on the first series, but also for that whole Jets organization who invested so much in him. Um, I think Rodgers is coming back because of it. I don't see how he's gonna bow out after that. He's gonna want to come back. He's gonna want to win the city a ring. So um, I don't think he's gonna retire anytime soon. He could always change his mind based on how his recovery goes. But wish him all the best. Um, Fortunately, we have to like focus on like what it means for the Jets now. That is not the QB for this season. And I'm curious to see what Zach Wilson has learned game to game. Like, because you saw in Hard Knocks, like Aaron Rodgers would give him tips and like he looks better. Like he's making more decisive reads at times, like when they're there. Like he's moving his head around quicker to get to the reads, and that's a good sign to see. But like there's also plays where he's like not efficient at moving the pocket or like using pocket movement to generate throws and like leaving the pocket way too early and panicking. And I just don't think that's a sustainable way to help your offense out. I think they're going to heavily lean on the ground game as much as they can, but so much the Falcons. I have no high hopes for this offense because of like the quarterback situation now. So I thought they would take a look at Kaepernick just to see what he has, but I don't think they're interested in him. They're not pursuing Tom Brady because I think Tom Brady is done. But like as in he's not going to come back to play football um, and unretire again. But Matt Ryan's a possibility. Carson Wentz, like he can. I don't know why people are down on him. He can do some stuff on this offense when the reads are there. Like he can do a lot of good things. Um, he doesn't have to pull the whole weight of the team. Like that's what the defense's job and the running game. Like he just has to make sure like the offense doesn't become a weakness to the point where like there's no like counter punch you can throw. Like Carson Wentz can do some stuff within like 20 to 25 yards down the field. It's like beyond like 50 yards. That's a challenge, and like that's the issue with him. So like he's like a well rehearsed option I would consider. And there's some guys that can trade for it, like young guys. I wouldn't say any starters in the leagues now because teams are still trying to figure out can they compete, can they not. But um, just tough, man. Just a tough situation all around. All right, week two. I'm really excited about this. Um, I'm really excited to see how high powered these offenses are because I'm sure the Vikings are going to come out with their best foot forward. Eagles almost escaped. Um, they did escape, but they could have lost to the Patriots. That was a tight game. So these teams should be they should be like playing with like an edge, and that's going to be even better for them. I think the offensive weapons on both teams are elite. Like they're well dressed down. Where you got Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, um, Jordan Addison, and then KJ Osborne. They're all great. Like that's how you want to build your receiving room. And same with the Eagles, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goddard. Like they'll be fine. They'll be fine offensively. It's like the defense is how much did Minnesota improve in Brian Flores' scheme? Um, because Philadelphia are going to have the gaps they did against New England. I believe in their pass rush, but everything else has got to come together. So I'll be really curious to see how that series plays out. If I had to make a prediction, I think the Eagles are going to go get away with this one. They're going to win this one. I still think it'll be close. I think the Eagles win this, let's say 28-21. It's going to be like a touchdown difference. I feel like I I just don't think the Vikings have enough firepower from the QB position to do it. Kirk is good, but like I think last week showed you what Kirk is capable of doing as well. So like you never know with him. Um, I get it. It's Thursday. It's Thursday night game. It's not a Monday night game, but I just think Jalen Hurts is one of the top QBs in the league, and he's going to find a way to make something happen for sure. Um, just taking a look at the week two schedules. One game I really want to see is I know it's another Bengals one, but Ravens and Bengals. I think that one, like both offenses have something to prove after last week. Um, you saw Odell's quote. Like, there's more to see from what the Ravens have. I'm curious to see how the Ravens choose to approach like the J.K. Dobbins situation now that he's out. And I'm curious to see how the Bengals improve. Like, uh, because you got to think Baltimore's going to use the same game plan like Cleveland did, like trying to blitz down the middle and like lock up receivers like with their cornerbacks as well. You got to think they follow the same strategy. So that's one game tuning into. Um, Same time frame, but like there's also the Chiefs and the Jags. That should be an exciting game. Kelsey may come back. Chris Jones just signed a deal. He's probably going to come back. That should be an exciting game. Um, really excited to see how the Jags offense fares against this new look Kansas City defense. Um, I think the Jaguars can take this one. To be honest, um, as a Christian Kirk fan, we drafted him in a lot of leagues. I hope he has a better game this week. It'll be a lot if he does. Um, I think a lot of defenses will cater and like try and stop Calvin Ridley now, so there's going to be plenty of opportunities for that to happen. I think, yeah, I got the Jags winning this one. It'll be tight though. It's but like even if Kansas City like starts 0 and 2, I they can still like finish among the top four teams in that conference, if not higher. Like it's kind of for them, like seeding doesn't matter because just the way they play and the way they overcome constantly. Um, Looking at the rest of the slate, Chargers and Titans, that'll be a good one because now we get a chance to see, okay, what do the Chargers look like against a really good defense in the Titans? That would be interesting to see. And then how do the Titans respond? Like because this is another high explosive offense that they have to put down and have to try and outscore. And on paper, like the QB is like a lot better than the Saints, but the surrounding cast is equally as good, like Saints and Chargers. So it will be interesting to see how the Titans match up. Um, let's see. One other game. One other game interested in seeing. Dolphins. Dolphins and the Patriots. I think both teams got what it takes. New England is heavily improved. Dolphins one of the most explosive teams in the league. I want to see who steps up as the number one guy on the Patriots. I think it's Hunter Henry, but like Kendrick Bourne also had a really nice game. Like he's nothing to sneeze at. Like he really showed up. He really improved. Um, Excited to see him like come out and see if he could do it again. Because Dolphins got a defense, man. They got a defense as well. Don't let the points allowed fool you. They have what it takes to shut people down. But I'm always curious to see how Bill Belichick chooses to attack Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle because that's a very difficult task. You got to have the corners to do it. You absolutely do. Like, but if there's one coach who can stop them, it's Belichick. And I think the fact that the Patriots have a functional offense now is a huge difference, and they'll be in this one for sure. All right, that wraps it up for me. Um, Hopefully next week we get everybody back on the pod. Stay tuned for any shorts. We're covering previews, covering recaps. We'll try to be a lot more active on that, so you can get some more content there. You can also follow us at Amon a Mission at amon.a.mission. Um, got more thoughts, questions, any disagreements. Um, I'm all ears. You'll put them down in the comments below. Take a look, and with that, peace out and see you next week.